Cowichan Secondary. I Good evening, my respected friends and relatives. It's great to see you here. My name is and I'm Chair of the Board of Education from Cowichan Valley School District. I'm honored that many of you came tonight to see this exciting project that we are all involved in together. I'd like to thank our elders who have joined us today, and all the other dignitaries have also come to support our students and this project. A thank you also goes out to all of you who have joined us in the community. We know we have had tremendous support for this project for decades. I hear stories about many years ago this project. And so we're really happy that you're here with us tonight. As we begin, I want to acknowledge that for thousands of years, the Cowichan peoples have walked gently on these territories where we now live, work, and play. We, as a school board, are committed to ensuring an innovative, strong, and culturally rich school environment for our Cowichan, our sacred children, that will help prepare them for a world they will create. I'd like to now invite my friend and trustee colleague, Joe Thorne, to start our presentation off in a good way.
I'd like to welcome you onto our territory of Cowichan Valley. You know, what you see here in the presentation you're going to get has been a long time in the work by others before us. It's been a dream to have our young graduate from new high school. Many have worked hard to make this dream come true. And I'm really grateful for the work that everyone, the school board, North Cowichan, the city of Duncan, Cowichan tribes, all of the stakeholders that have been involved. We're not standing alone in this. This is for all of our children. All our children. As Canada said, you are our sacred children. We're here to help, serve, and do our best for each one of you. Because your parents have been kind enough and generous enough to say that I trust you to take care of our children. And through the leadership that I work with and our staff board office, I'm proud to say I've been working with some of the best and will be working with the best. So please enjoy the evening, learn, remember, and you young guys, I've already told you, you're going to look and you're going to tell us what you think, right? If you don't, I will follow you. I'd say,
Thank you, Joe. It's my honor to introduce Karen Miller of HCMA Architecture and Design, and Alan Barron of Urban One Builders to our community. As you know, we've been working on this replacement project since December 19th, 2019, when the then Minister of Education, Rob Fleming, joined us here in this very school, in this very spot, to announce the funding for a replacement school. A lot has happened since that time. The planning and design work culminated in the board's selection of Urban One Builders and HCMA Architecture and Design as the successful builders and designers of our beautiful new school. Tonight we will hear from Karen and her team about the beautiful new design. These presentations will be followed by ample time to walk around and see the designs in detail and ask questions of the presenters. A replacement for Cowichan Secondary School has been the top priority for the Board of Education for a very long time. And now that the process is well underway, we can look back at the tremendous community effort it took to get us here. The current Cowichan Secondary School that we're sitting in is over 70 years old, and it no longer serves our community or our learners well. And we were overjoyed in 2019 and continue to be overjoyed with the announcement of the incoming replacement school. Much has happened since that announcement. Firstly, we have hired a full project team to guide us through this process and have been working closely with our Chief Project Officer, Tom Sparrow, who is also here with us tonight. We then engaged with many in our community about our Neighborhood Learning Center, which is part of the school, and developed a plan that we announced in May 2020 that would see an Indigenous Language and Culture Center be the cornerstone of the NLC that will also house a health and wellness facility center and a high-tech meeting room. The new school will also include purpose-built learning communities with collaboration spaces and incorporate areas for technology and innovation throughout the school. But before I try to describe it all, and I am not able to do that, I'll stop and turn it over to Karen. We are quite excited for all of you to see the designs and hear of the exceptional learning and careful planning that went into the process for this beautiful new school. I hope you will be as excited as the board and others that we have already been working. I'd like now to ask Karen Marner of HCMA Architecture and Design to join me and present the design of the new Cowichan Secondary School to all of you.
If you have any questions during the presentation, or after the presentation when you're looking at the boards, just reach out to myself or Steve. We're also here in attendance is the Murdoch Group, the landscape architects, Scott Murdoch from town, Bon Mason. And if you want to know anything construction related, then just turn your attention to these three guys at the end. They're Urban One, and then we can get the contractors on the project. So I'm going to turn it over to my associate, Steve DePasquale, and he's going to present the scheme to you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So, I'm going to just walk through a series of images here to introduce everybody to the project. We'll start with kind of high-level things, and we'll get acquainted with the site and the overall form before we dig into the kind of fun stuff of what it's like to be inside the building and also so this is a 3D image, a rendering of what it would be like to be looking north. You can see that the Trans-Canada Highway is up to the north of the building. Imagine that this building is conceived as a series of discrete program blocks. So everywhere where we've got offices and the classrooms, those are the gray blocks. And then that kind of blue color in the middle, that's in between spaces. That's what's in between all of these image blocks. The social heart of the school, the multi-learning space, the gathering place. These are the things that are in between those blocks. So this is another rendering of what it would be like to be standing at the south of the school and looking at the main entry. So in the kind of middle right of the image, you see one of those program blocks. Right in the center of the image is the main entry, and over to the right, the entry to the gathering place. And the dark tone, wooden kind of screen signifies the that. We'll see in a minute what it's like to walk under the wood canopy that will welcome everybody to the school. But first, some important inspirational images. When we were doing our early research on the design team, we looked to one of the most important books from this area, Those Who Fell from the Sky, The History of the Cowichan Peoples. And there were some very important images that became touchstones when we were working through the design and how to be inspired by the history of this place. So if you look at the upper right, this is a picture of a traditional Cowichan living room, or big house. And we drew inspiration from this cladding, the wood cladding, vertically oriented, silvered with the elements over time. We thought that there was a way to carry that into the architecture and express that in the new school. And so we've taken that inspiration, the kind of light, medium, and dark gray tones, and carried that into the facade. You can see over on that. We also took inspiration from some of the connection details in the scaffolding outside of the lid. So you can see at the bottom right, That is the canopy outside of the head compound at the very north of the building. We drew inspiration from those connection details and built those, or are going to build those out of steel. Some other inspiring images from that same book. So at the very top right is a picture of the traditional Cowichan weir for fish harvesting. So when it came time to design the entry to the neighborhood learning center, the gathering place, we thought that it would be appropriate to take that language of those wood members that kind of filigree those vertical members with a strong horizontal, and that announces the entry to the gathering place. Similarly, when it came time to design the forms of those program blocks, we looked at this picture from the village of Cowichan, these mono-pitch, geometric, kind of prismatic forms arranged in the landscape. So I'm going to kind of let them either create that as the lens would kind of dictate. So if you look at the image on the bottom left, those images, or those forms I should say, are inspired from that photo. And this is an image now, so zooming in from where we were at that earlier rendering, this is what it would be like walking into the main entry of the school. There is this, as I said, this wood canopy that greets everybody and announces entry. This is what it would be like to be walking through to the main entry, straight ahead, and then to the right, that Cowichan weir inspired entry to the NLC. We thought it was very important that we make a distinction between the main entry to the school and the gathering place, so they have slightly different tonalities and different architectural expressions. And this is an image that shows what it would be like to be standing inside of the gathering place. So again, to distinguish it from the rest of the school, we have this kind of dark tone, sort of cedar tone wood at the side and at the back. We have, or at the side I should say, retractable seating, and at the north side the home seating. And up above you can see skylights through the glue lamp wood structural members carried by cross-laminated timber. And this is a section just showing where we placed the skylights to express the traditional locations of the fires within the wood house. And this is a rendering now showing what it would be like as though you had just walked into the main entry, just walked through the main entry, I should say, and turned to the left, and are looking down in one of the corridors, one of these in-between spaces, towards the gym. You can see the back left, towards the learning commons, which is the library. Over there on the right, you see the active space of the climbing wall, also over to the left, and these flexible rollable bench seating that we have also made as part of the space. So imagine how you walk down towards the gym, you turn left, now in the gym looking back towards the library, which is looking. You can see that up to the right, we've got a fitness area and also a studio overlooking the gym. And then at the very back of the gym, you can see at the level 2, sort of outside of the visual arts area, where we've also got, and we'll see more detail on some of these spaces. We've got breakout collaborative spaces where students can gather, get to look into the gym and kind of participate in those activities, even when they're doing other things. Okay, so now imagine that we've come back out of the gym, we're in the heart of the school, the social heart of the place, the multi-purpose space. That is the big in-between space with all of it, in the middle of all of these program blocks. So we're looking back now towards main entry, and you can see that this vaulted space, 2.5 stories tall, again, that same wood expression, glue lamp beams and CLP planks as the ceiling and roof structure. Over to the right of the image, that dark tone box, that's the sort of northern end of the gathering place, the elder space. In fact, in that one little corner there, where you see the window, that is a recording studio where elders can be recording their oral histories. You can see the feature stair, that expression of the wood ribbon winding its way up from level 1 to level 3. So everything again in the middle of the spaces, those in-between spaces, is conceptually rendered out in wood as a language that's different from that of the program blocks. And you can see here that that multi-purpose space can serve a variety of purposes. Here it's in performance mode, and up above on level 2, you can see students that overlook, understanding, and participating in those And this is an image showing what it would be like to be up on that level 2, looking down into the multi-purpose space. So one thing that we found as we moved through the design is that we could carve out a lot of informal learning spaces, collaborative spaces, where students are able to take their laptops, gather in groups. So along this whole rail on level 2, we've got these laptop figures where students can pull up with their work, discuss what their friends, and be part of the energy of that space. And another one of the breakout spaces, this is just outside of visual arts, where we've got a space for work tables and collaborative work between the various art departments. Again, kind of passively taking part in those activities in the gym as well. And another of these collaborative spaces is in between those program blocks where things are sort of splayed apart. We've got a counter where people can be looking out into the landscape here, and another informal gathering, so egress stairs. And it should be said too that it was important to us as we went through the design to be designing places both for extroverts and people who like to be a part of the action when they're working with their friends, and also those places of retreat that are a little more private and off the beaten track. So this is at one of the ends of one of the corridors just outside of one of the outdoor retreats. And another private contemplative moment at least, looking out to Mount Sakane at the end of one of the corridors, just a simple wood bench for a moment of reflection. And here, one of the lively collaborative spaces at the entrance to each of the classroom blocks is a very generous breakout space that culminates in a balcony at the end. And we'll see an image of what that is like to be. So this is a locker block island that will be topped with wood, and students can pull up and work informally there too. Should also say that the ceilings that you're looking at in these in-between spaces are meant to all be this decorative wood slat ceiling that signifies to everybody that they are in the public space of the park, in between those program blocks. And this is a rendering of looking back outside the building, looking at what those balcony spaces in each of the breakout spaces would be like. We imagine that we could have flowers and planting and benches, and this could be a real nice place for our students to go get a little more fresh air and be away from the activity of their classrooms. And turning to my lovely teammates here at Scott and Tam, this is one of their spaces that they have designed out here on the top of the gathering place. We have this outdoor roof plaza, and this is a rendering, and showing them over in the background, it's a rendering showing what some of the benches and the planting and the spirit of this place would be like. And another outdoor learning place, I should say that all of these are designed with inspiration from very special places along the Cowichan River. And I would suggest that if you have a minute tonight, you can ask Scott and Tam about how that all works. And another of the informal outdoor learning spaces outside on the north with these stone benches and kind of tiered seating. And then finally back around to the front of the school. And I know that this one is inspired by the estuary, the idea of the mixing energies where the students are coming and going. So you can see in the background that lovely entry canopy that we talked about, the balconies up to the right, and then informal benching sitting at the right. And finally, and this is I think one of my favorite images from our design process, a shot of the Indigenous Plaza. So this is again looking at the left with that entry canopy, a very special plaza carved out in front of the gathering place, and showing at the right a rain garden planted with native species and harvesting that water. That again, if you were able to talk to Scott and Tim and myself tonight, we can tell you more about how that informed the entire point of departure for the project. And thank you. And with that, I will pass it back over to Nancy.
Thank you, Karen and Steve. And next, we'd like to invite Tom Sparrow, our amazing Chief Project Officer, up to give us an overview of the construction process and environmental considerations. Over to you, Tom.
I kind of like to stand and move around a bit. So thank you very much for inviting us here this evening to speak to you. This is a really exciting time, and I share Candace's enthusiasm. She's an amazing chair. Ms. Robin is the superintendent, with giving us the guidance and the leadership to enable us to get us to where we are today. And these are really key objectives that the school district and the school board were battling about. When we decide on designing buildings, facilities, these are sort of some of the grounding principles that we follow. So, of course, number one was the Indigenous theme and how prominent that would be. We wanted to ensure that the natural sustainable areas from the outdoor activities and learning were incorporated into the landscape, into the facility itself. And I think some of the renderings that Steve showed us clearly identify what that has done. I have to thank the team that put together the landscaping plan, because it is quite amazing. Health and movement are celebrated and encouraged. Learning and activity spaces open to views, and you notice there's a lot of windows and a lot of views that are looking outwards, but also that allows a lot of that natural light to come inwards, and that's a very healthy working environment for folks as well. School grounds align with the Cowichan Place. So, as you all know, I mean, we are actually the fourth stakeholder in that area. You've got, VIU, you've got the Performing Arts Center, you've got the Aquatic Center, and now you're going to have the schools. So we've been working very closely with the other Cowichan Place stakeholders to be part of that community of the Cowichan Place. And you're going to hear more about that, because there is a partnership through the school district and those areas that we're going to be working closely with those stakeholders and putting up some additional signage. And they're actually part of our walking path walkway as well. So we are part of the neighborhood of the Cowichan Place, which is going to really help to finish off this beautiful area as well. The last one here, and this is very critical, I know near and dear to Rob, is the 21st century learning. And Cheryl and Robin and Pete and Darcy, I mean, there's a lot of great ideas that we've incorporated into 21st century learning that you don't see in some of the unfortunately older schools today. It's going to be really exciting, I think, for the educators to be able to showcase that as we go through the next few years of design and building up this beautiful facility. Mike? So essentially, this is the foundation of what we're dealing with. We're looking at designing a building for 1,100 students, but we also are designing it so we can expand it up to 1,500 students. Obviously, grades 10 to 12. Gives you the size of it. The neighborhood learning centers, of course, I think Candace has done a great job of explaining about the Health and Wellness Center and the Indigenous Language and Cultural Center, which really is the cornerstone of the neighborhood learning center. I have to say, it's interesting, I don't think the minister's here right now, but I work closely with the Ministry of Education on the capital planning side, and this new design, this new school is actually really going to be one of the figureheads, and it's a cornerstone for new schools in this province. And I think it really is hats off to the school board, to Candace and the trustees, and to Robin and her team, and the great partnership they have with the Cowichan tribes, because this just didn't happen overnight, and that relationship, you just don't see that in a lot of the other school districts across this province. And I think for you in the room that, are say taxpayers, or you're sending your children to these schools, you should be very fortunate to have the leadership you have here within the board and the school district. Because this is something that you don't see every day in many of these 60 school districts we have across the province of British Columbia. LEED Gold, this is something that in the province we've been doing LEED Gold for years. We're actually looked upon worldwide in British Columbia as one of the top leading edge areas when it comes to leadership in energy and environmental design. We don't do platinum, if you're wondering about that, because platinum actually add an extra 25% capital cost to a project, which is quite significant. but we certainly are one of the best in the world at designing LEED Gold design facilities. Wood First Act is, of course, another one the province has had in play for many, many years, and we take that very seriously. So we will see a lot of wood incorporated into some of the non-structural areas in the school. And of course, wood massing is something that is being done in a lot of buildings today. So I'm sure that HCMA and the Urban One team have looked at many of those different options as well. As the Minister mentioned earlier, the budget is coming in at around $86 million. I have to say, I think we're very fortunate to have Urban One as our design builder at HCMA. They are one of the best teams in the province, and this design is absolutely phenomenal. And hats off to Karen and her team who developed and designed such a beautiful facility that Alan and Blair and the team are going to be building for us. Right? This is impossible to read, so anyway, I do have a smaller slide over here that I can show you after the fact. But what we were trying to identify here is that this is actually one of the most energy efficient schools in the province. We actually got additional funding, which was highlighted in the yellow section there, to be able to improve on the reduction of greenhouse gases by 69%, and also to ensure that our energy consumption savings will be well in addition to over 32%. They gave us additional funding to do this, and this is something they have not done with any of the other infrastructure projects across the province. Now, it's not net zero. Net zero costs a lot of money, and of course there's the operating costs to be able to support net zero, but we have come a long way, and exemplified by the 69% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. The other thing you'll find in the design of the facility and the operations is there's an opportunity to showcase where we are actually saving funds within the school. There's going to be areas of the school you're going to be able to see operation, how they actually operate with heating systems and cooling systems and lighting systems. So we're trying to teach the students, and actually anybody that is frequent in the school, to learn more about how we go about trying to save energy. So there'll be a lot more education involved in that to come down the road as well. Next slide. So as far as phasing goes, as you can see here, I mean, originally, as Ken had mentioned, well before even this project definition report, there was an incredible amount of work that's gone on for many, many, many years. You know, it is hard work to get the attention of government, and of course to be able to get the capital funding necessary to build these beautiful schools. And again, I know Candace, you've mentioned there's a number of mayors that have been around for quite a few years that have worked on this, and I think everybody should congratulate the passion and I think the patience all of them have had in order to get us to where we are today, and obviously moving forward into the future when we finish this beautiful school. So the project definition report was something that was done a number of years ago. We just completed the RFP process here actually in October. We signed our agreement on October the 29th. And we're in a scenario right now where we're doing a combination of finishing off design and actually construction. It's an interesting way that we approach on doing our design build work, but it allows us to actually speed up some of the process, because we don't need the finished product to enable Blair and Alan and his team to do the initial work on excavating and building the foundation for the school itself. So you'll see that, as you can see here, there's a work in progress through design and then construction, and then the school is planned to be open for business in September of 2024. So we've got a few years ahead of us, but obviously there's going to be lots of opportunity through those years to be able to share the exciting design, and then through the construction of the facility as well. Right? Again, this will be a little difficult to read, but this is actually some of the org structure of Urban One. And I just want to make sure you're aware that they have a huge team, that are involved in every aspect of the project. So not only, HCMA that is doing the architectural, and we've got the engineering firm looking after engineering, but when it comes to the site, they have safety supervisors, they have construction superintendents, they have a significant workforce that will be involved in actually supporting the safety, the security, and the construction of the facility over the next 3 to 4 years. This is something that is really important for us. We respect our neighbors in the community, so we'll be looking very closely at dust control, at lighting, trucking, access in and out of the sites with the big trucks, the safety involved in doing that, the security fencing that will be placed on the site. All these things are taken into consideration, and we work very closely with the City of Duncan, the Municipality of North Cowichan. We'll be working with the RCP, local ambulance, emergency services to ensure that as we begin construction on this site, that safety is paramount. And it very much is. And I know that Blair and Alan and the team even have brought along their head superintendent and also their safety supervisor. So even this evening, if you have any questions or concerns about the site, what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, or how it's going to happen, how are we safeguarding the site? These are very important questions for the community, and we want to be able to share in whatever questions come up and ensure that we're trying our very best to meet the integrity of the community. Parking is another thing that comes up on these big projects where we're very concerned about the tradespeople parking, in, say, the aquatic parking lot or the performance center or VIU, or maybe even over in the commercial shopping center that's across the street. We take all these things into consideration because we do not want to put any pressure on the community when we build a project of this scope and size. So my name and number and others will be available. So if you have any concerns or questions, anytime, feel free to be able to give us a call, because we want to make sure that we're the best neighbors possible as we design and build this beautiful facility for the community. This just shows some of the breakdown of some of the Urban One site management team. Again, I think some of these folks they're still working on developing and working with. We have a very good relationship through Blair with the Municipality of North Cowichan, who we do a lot of our work with, the planning department, their engineering department, fire department, public works. These are very important relationships that Urban One is building on, that we've created over the last few years to ensure that there's seamless communication with everybody as we construct the new facility. So where do we go from here? As I mentioned earlier, we've got the execution of the contract, so we've signed the contract. Candace and Robin and Jason signed the contract here at the end of the month, and we're now into heavily involved in design and of course construction, and we'll basically start in January and February. There's a lot of work involved in developing the site itself. The site is fairly low, so there's a lot of what we call geotechnical work that's been done to safeguard the facility. We understand about the 1 in 500 year storm is not happening about 1 in every 3 or 4 years, it seems, but we've designed these facilities to meet these new pressures from climate control. These things have all been taken into consideration. Earthquakes, all these sort of things that are unfortunately disasters that seem to be becoming more prevalent these days. We're designing those ideas and incorporating those into these facilities moving forward. So we always learn from our past experiences and incorporate those new designs into the project itself. In addition to the design and construction, there will be equipment purchasing. There's going to be a lot of new equipment that we're putting into the facility, but we're also trying to take some of the very good equipment that still in existence here, that still has some life left in it, or life cycle left in it. We will be taking some of that equipment and moving it over to the new facility as well, because we want to save as much money as we can when we build out these new facilities. Commissioning, transition, and then service commencement, which, as I mentioned, will happen it'll be in late spring of 2024. We'll have the whole summer to get the training and education for the teachers and move the rest of the equipment in preparation for starting off in the fall of September 2024. I think with that, kind of covers it from my end. Is that right, me? All right, so I'm going to turn it back to Candace.
much. Good job. And for the night too. Okay. Superintendent Robin Gray will now give us a brief overview of how we are going to plan the rest of the evening.
Thank you very much. So nice to see everyone this evening. Thanks, Quail. You can see behind us, we have some wonderful poster boards of all the various aspects of the school. And so I know I have a team of helpers. Each one of us is going to take a poster. And we're going to start in the corner way over there with that little document there, and it's the lead gold, and that's where Tom Spur will start and be. And each one of the team members, including folks from HCMA who will also assist with us, and students, we'd love for you to also be a participant. I can see that we have more people on this side of the room, but what we'd like you to do, if you could, just for health and safety protocols, maybe look at approximately 5 to 6 people around each one of the billboards, and we will explain to our best of our ability on each of those poster boards as we move forward in part B of our evening. And so I believe that we're going to do a bit of closing first, is that right, Candace? And from there, there's snacks, there's places to go, and we'll close our evening with a bit of a walkabout at each one of our poster boards, and you can ask some questions. So, Richard.
Robin, and before you start walking about, I just want to offer sincere thanks for coming tonight. I'm hoping that you're going to be as excited as we are with this project. We can't wait for it to happen. I do want to say again, it's been a true community effort to pull off this school. First of all, to advocate to the max, so we finally got it approved, and now to work together on the design and create the best facility we can for educating our students. So I'd like to ask if our district elder and knowledge keeper would give us a few good words for our closing, and accept to all of you again for coming.
Good to see you all. Give thanks to you all. And give thanks to all the ones that took part in planning for this school. You know, there was a lot of planning, a lot of meetings, but you know, I was really touched in my heart to see that, you know, they're tying in, you know, the things that I see in that picture, the school, our culture is going to be in it. And that brings joy in my heart to see that. And it brings joy in my heart that, you know, the students are going to be looking forward to this new school. It's been a long haul, but I know it's going to be a dream come true for them. And they're going to graduate with a good memory in their heart and mind and soul. Thank you all. You're going to see.